this is the reason we're in this room is from a problem. Aspire Tour, which is one of the larger conferences that we throw, ranges from 3,000 to 4,000 people. My position in that, the gentleman who I'll be interviewing, or actually Tia will be interviewing tomorrow, actually. He's one of the co-founders for, and my job is to create content and not necessarily talk to people or solve ticket-related issues. That's just not my job title. That's something I was telling her, that moment is so funny to me because I just don't, there's things going on that I have to attend to that I have to adhere to. For some reason, when we were here in Dallas, Texas, I heard Madeline's gracious voice, somewhat disgruntled, with a girl that I knew was not going to solve her problem. She had a squad of very strong females who were proudly standing behind her, who I also felt that were very strong in their wording as well, clearly from Texas, with a little Latin spice.
Yeah.
And
I was back there going, oh my God, I can't take y'all anywhere.
And so, again, there was a ticket problem issue at Aspire Tour. I interjected and I said, hey, I may not be the one that could hand you the ticket, but there's someone who I believe could help. And indirectly, she doesn't even know this, I just went up to Dan and I was like, hey, I need 6 tickets. And indirectly, that leads to Shannon. Shannon's like, for what? I was like, just give it to me. There's 6 Latin women that are mad. I was like, we need to solve this. That is really what happened. And in a matter of probably 5 minutes, they get into the room. I then see her again. And something in my heart, and I think something that, you hear the saying, follow your gut. Yeah, do that. Something in me was telling me, talk to her. She's new to this space. You could introduce her to people. For the next 20 to 30 minutes, not only do we end up finding out we're from the same city, similar backgrounds, parents, same heritage, almost felt like maybe, are you my sister? Questioning, I was like, Dad. Seriously though, we hit it off to a point that people were like, oh, did you bring her? And I was like, no, I didn't. I actually just met her 30 minutes ago outside, pretty mad. And ended up meeting Tia. And then fast forward 2 weeks later, hey, we're in LA. Our photographer is kind of busy with doing stuff. Can you help us out? I said, yeah, of course. Spent the next 2 hours with them, filming and working. Prior, actually spent time speaking to Tia. And something I will be speaking about more is my sobriety journey of deciding not to drink, not to smoke, not to eat fast food and soda. And Tia finds a liking to like a couple of things that I'm saying. And she says, hey, I would love to have you on my podcast. And in that energy of in the flow, I said, how long are you in town for? She's like, until Wednesday. I go, it was Sunday or Monday, I believe. I was like, how does Tuesday sound? Sure. She says to me, I don't have a podcast space. Again, referencing relationship circles, a little networking hack. When you're saving someone's contact in the company's name, put what they do and the city they live in. So I was like, all right, Podcast LA, Carson Jones. Carson review for Tuesday, certain morning time. Yes, Tia, set it up. Tia at the end of the podcast then says to me, I said, what do you have going on next? She's like, I'm headed to Utah. I was like, Utah? I was like, what are you doing in Utah? She's like, I'm going to this event called Limitless. Have you heard of it? It was our event. Yeah. And I go, yeah, I think I have. And she was, yeah, but she's like, I paid X amount of money Friday night. It's a VIP party with Ludacris. I was like, yeah, that's our event. Yeah.
Great party too.
In between that, the part that I forgot is that she threw in, I'm going to Vegas. I'm like, oh, cool. Yeah. Let it go. I don't know if you remember this part. She's coming later today.
Oh, yeah.
6 hours later, she sends me a selfie with my best friend in Las Vegas. Yeah. She'll be arriving around noon. Her name's Amy Charlesworth. And I go, what are you doing with Amy? And she was, I'm at David Meltzer's podcast. And Amy was with someone who's a guest on that podcast that day. And she paid her business coach to be Day in the Life podcast session. Continues. Then comes to Salt Lake City. She knows if you follow me on social, I'm on a plane pretty often due to work, relationships, and my family. And she shows up gifting me this airplane that I literally wear every day. I never take it off. So we have that mutual connection. And long story short, after Salt Lake City, I said, she's like, what do you have going on next? I was like, Miami. And then she says to me, I've never been there. I said, wait, what? If there's anything I pride myself in is hosting, the Latin in me of taking people in and feeding them. And I was like, hey, not even my event. We're having Aspire. We have these other free events that you could attend. Just be in the room. Obviously, things led from charity events. I think you attended. I had 7 events. We had 7 events in 5 days, right, Shannon?
We sure did.
Yeah, we had 7 events in Miami. We had 7 events in 5 days. Her plan was to come to 1. She ends up coming to all 7.
Yeah.
Led to my workshop event that led to this room. So
And somewhere in between there, I was in New York at Gary Vee.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah, I forgot about that too. With another
I told my
friend
daughter,
of mine.
I was like, I'm extending the trip. I'm going to Miami. She's like, what are you doing? I'm like, it'll be fine. Yeah.
And kind of the full circle loop of that is you just never know what that one person and or problem that you could show up and serve them. Is my job to do tickets? No. Is my job to kind of take in and grasp the fire of 6 Latin Texas women? No. But in that circumstance, I said it jokingly, all of them I adore, and we have a group chat at one point where we talk in text and talk about where I'm running around in the world, led to this room and led to that one conversation of serving and showing up for people. There's 2 slogans I live by right now. One of them is servant leadership is my identity. And the reason I say that is because I've realized time and time again, you hear it over and over, when you start to show up for other people, other doors start to open. And in a way, you could say it's like selfishly, like, well, that's not a good way to think. Where I think to myself, it's a great way to live. Because then you start to realize, okay, not only is my life better, the people I'm doing life with improves. And so that's just been consistent. I just felt like I had to share that moment in time because even saying it out loud, and I've said it a couple times with her, I just feel like it's just so special when you're able to connect with someone, which at a time could felt like a big problem or a headache, and lead to these endless doors and opportunities. And to think 3 weeks prior to that moment, her and I never knew existed, and then in a matter of 2 weeks, I see her multiple times in Las Vegas with my best friend, attending one of our events, coming to Miami for the first time, and showing up in the way you did.
Yeah, it's been great. And Roger is like you guys, very humble. His event in Miami, I was blown away along with everybody else that was there. And people kept coming up to him after the event and saying, I would have paid 3 times this much to be here. He may be young to me, maybe not to everybody in the room, but he's young to me. But he has been mentored by some of the best people in business. And for him to be willing to give that back to us is really a gift. So thank you for coming.
Thank you for
having
me with my boots.
Yeah. Awesome.
So I'll tell one last boot joke and I'll let it go. I put on the boots and I couldn't take them off. And so I did the whole jerk in, and everyone around me laughing. I'm like, what am I doing now? What? And the lady's like, hey, you got this little step stool thing. I was like, no, I'm good. And she's like, no, you're gonna need that. And I didn't know how to, and I stepped the opposite foot on it, and I'm leaning forward, and she's just looking at me.
I have videos, if anybody wants to see. Awesome. All right.
Did you buy one to take it home? 'Cause you gotta have that one at home, the little.
No.
We're gonna let him struggle.
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, that was as far as I got. All right, enough about us. I think something that I want to hear, and I think what I've learned, one of the biggest things from someone who you'll hear tomorrow, Dan Fleischman, when I asked him, I remember I was having a really bad day of pulling out fires. And he looks at me and he smiles and he's like, you should be thankful. And I said, why? And he's like, well, if everyone had their problems fixed, they wouldn't need you. And so I said, dang, even telling it now, I still kind of get goosebumps. I'm like, okay. I was like, these are a lot of fires, but I'll take it. And then I also realized he's like, holding it in doesn't help you either, though. Communicate and find the resources that solve them, because if not, it's just an ongoing headache and an ongoing problem that's going to get resolved in your own head. So whoever feels compelled to I would love to hear kind of what are the struggles that you're having in your business, let it be through content, let it be through marketing. Be something I pride myself in is really getting to the nitty gritty of saying, hey, this is the person that could help you. Hey, even me switching up my slides or the resources that I have to further serve you. So if there's anyone that are willing or able to share something that they're going through or kind of a problem or thing that they're facing in their business or on social media, I would love to hear it.
Yeah.
Not social media related. I've been like a serial entrepreneur for about all of maybe 4 weeks now. I like leverage like my photographic memory to do a lot of what I do, like connecting the dots. Like just hearing everybody say what they did, like I already kind of my wheels started spinning, so I'll reach out to each of you guys separate. But my biggest issue is that I know at some point within the next 10 to 20 years that memory is not going to be as good. So I feel like I need an executive assistant. So like just that organization is kind of like my biggest weakness right now. Because I know what's going on in my head, but I can't always follow up with every single person I talk to because I talk to hundreds of people a day.
I love that.
MBA.
Yeah, that's where my head went as well. Yeah.
I would definitely say I have a love-hate relationship with social media. Like I had this period where I would go live and I'm talking and everybody's looking for me, and then it's kind of like I stop. And then I'm really good with editing and using CapCut and all the funky apps and everything, but it's time consuming for me. So I know you mentioned about creating the content and just putting it out efficiently, and that's where I struggle. I'm ready to just go hard, I have it all inside of my head. I just need to get it out there.
Came to the right place.
Yeah.
During my presentation, I actually pulled a complete pivot. At 1 a.m, I woke up and I decided to rewrite my strategy page. And with Freddie, who's helped me tremendously in this. So today you'll hear things of how to do that, how to concrete, what I call the roadmap, right? Because it's overwhelming. So yeah, cool. Anyone else?
I'll throw something out there. So representing multiple businesses and brands, where to have my focus. So I have my personal brand, I have my gyms, I have my ministry, I have all those things. Where should I be gearing my focus, or does it even really matter? Do I just authentically present myself as what I am in that present moment at that time, and how to use it effectively and efficiently?
Great. So where do you spend your most time? No, I'm not asking you. That's the question, is how to effectively spread your most time across the things that you're focusing. Cool. Anyone else?
Hey, Rob,
Yes, sir.
reconciling the difference between the things that you do for money and the things that you do for impact.
Oof, that's a good one. I love that. Yeah, so something that I don't post as publicly is I attended a private Catholic high school and university. And the reason I even chose my university was I was close to a Christian brother who was a pastor. And during that time, I would do mission trips. And my senior year, I gave up my spring break and I led a group to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania to build homes. And then the year after that, which is where I'm tithing to, is in South Africa in 2017. It's an organization I've been tied with that financially support monthly donations. But yeah, I think that's huge. It's great that you said that, because I was speaking to Priscilla just about that yesterday. I'm experiencing massive growth, but I don't feel that my growth is as tied to showing up and serving the less fortunate, which is where my heart's leading into, where I'll share it here. I'm going to be doing this internationally. So by next year, I'm going to go to Mexico, specifically Tulum, a city that I love, where half of that room will be less fortunate, like people in the social media space who can't afford to be in rooms like this, to show up for them and serve them. Yeah. So thank you for adding that. Cool.
The second thing, Roger, too, is I guess a corollary is the difference between leaning into what you do versus who you are. So there's some of it is what you do, and the people you do it for. So I'm identifying with them. Here's the service, here's the person, but here's who I am. Because those are three very different messages, and it's hard to. It's hard to have. Well, you're going to have a voice on social media that's going to be consistent. Which of those voices are you choosing, and where do you go with that?
Tomorrow's presentation is exactly that. The topic that the second slogan that I live by, which is I'm living my life by design and not by default. And so during that time, what I should say, this Thursday will be 16 weeks of me, quote unquote, having clarity in my life, having vision for my life. I told myself that I'm no longer allowing life to happen to me, and I'm purposely doing life with the people that I'm showing up for. So kind of lingering off of that, of the identity of who we're supposed to be, who we are, and where we want to go. Yeah. I touch on all the things from mentally, spiritually, physically, showing up for myself and having that presence in mind. Yesterday, what she referenced with Priscilla, the karaoke, we went to something, we did a tipping dinner, something that Dan and his close friend Jimmy Rex started during the pandemic, where one of the biggest markets that were being hit were restaurants. And mom and pop's restaurants are also waitered by moms and dads. So that effectively affects families. And they started something known as a tipping dinner, where we would show up to family-owned restaurants. The group would all then not only pay for their bill, normal 18, 20%, and each individually donate $100. That has been done hundreds and hundreds of times, over and over again. It was Tia's idea to start the momentum of doing these workshops. She said midday yesterday, the day before, let's do a tipping dinner. We went to a local family-owned Jamaican restaurant. We ended up finding out it's their 16-year anniversary, and it's karaoke night. And so I'm telling her, again, like we say it's like jokingly, I said it jokingly, I'm like, they look like they're doing pretty good. Like, we're trying to help, And I was like, there was a lot going on in here. Usually it's like the family, you'll see the grandma in the back and the mom running around like frantic. This place was popping. And during that, Priscilla ended up jumping on there, doing her thing, had the crowd going left to right, but to the end of it, which was really special. I don't know, Tia, if you want to interject. We gave him a handsome thing in what he said.
Yeah. So this restaurant I've known for many years, probably close to 16. It's their anniversary. And I know that they help college students. They help single people who have moved here as immigrants. So they try to hire and give back as well.
From Jamaican backgrounds. Jamaican food. Tied directly with Jamaica.
And so I was like, this is a perfect place. And my daughter, Jasmine, and I, every Sunday, we call it Giving Sunday. We don't really talk about it, but we go out and we pay for people's dinner. We tip 100%. Like it's our day of giving. And when I was introduced to tipping dinner by Dan Fleshman, I thought, we're being humble and quiet. When I could invite 6 people to go with me and give a bigger tip, let's do that. So super excited to be able to expand upon that here locally. And then the server last night, when we tipped him, he said, I'm in a sticky situation, and all night I've been trying to work up the nerve to ask my boss to borrow money to help me out, and now I don't have to.
Crying.
Y'all are a godsend. God answered a prayer with you, and
took a picture with us after. I was just like, that's why you do that. You just don't know what someone's going through.
Yeah, so able to answer, one of, a prayer. God answered a prayer through us, and we were super excited to be able to do it. But I encourage all of you to do the same. Stay in contact with us, because we'll keep doing them. I'll stop keeping it to myself and share Giving Sunday with everybody if you'd like to join, for sure.
Something I also want to touch on, I feel like sometimes, especially on social media, you'll be criticized for posting doing good. I think it's crazy. Like, it's actually crazy to me, because people will do crime, they'll bully online, and that will be allowed to do. And there's no kind of, what I would say, law or kind of backlash, correct, thank you, towards that. But you decide to show up at a restaurant, literally show up as a prayer, as an angel, and the comments are, why are you posting that? Why are you doing that? And I would flip it around and say, no, you're doing good, because even though you're putting limelight on yourself, what is the impact that you're having? Because that's what matters. It's not as boastful as this moment is of us saying, we went to this restaurant, we did that. Yeah, but at the end of the day, we're the ones that put the money down, and we're the ones that helped him and showed up for him. Mm-hmm. I think it was Jeff Bezos a couple months ago or years ago. He donated, it was $96 million. And everyone said, how can he not do 100? That was literally the headline.
It's just
4 million
Let's
shy of
four, yeah.
100. That was the headline.
Yeah.
He didn't want to round it up.
Yeah.
And those same people, I guarantee, probably don't even give back to their own community.
Yeah.
And so when you're doing good and you have these moments of, I don't want to post it, also think to yourself, what is the impact that has on sharing that in your own community of someone wanting to do that?
Yeah.
So with the Tidbit dinner, when we started that during the pandemic, as it may be, people started, it got so much bigger than us. It's not, people don't even know sometimes Jimmy, Rex, and Dan started that. Dan decided to take it to a whole new level, and we do $1,000 to show up for dinner. And we'll find out and do our background on families and say to ourselves, you know, we're not just randomly donating to a restaurant of half of it's going to the waiting staff, half of it's going to the, you know, the front office, these people and so forth. And I just say that because rooms like this, the reason I love it is, and the intimate experiences, you have meaningful, deep conversations that lead to meaningful and deep events that not only change your life, but will change other people's lives. And let it be $50 or $100. I think sometimes the small gestures will lead a long way, and it'll fill your heart and start to show up for you and serve you way more than the money itself.
Yeah.
You know, me being able to travel and work for some of the best in the world, I've related to that so much when Chris referenced some of the wealthiest and richest people on the planet are actually the loneliest and darkest, and I could firsthand say that is a truth. That is a fact. That is not a movie. That is not a myth. That concept of the 10 cars, the 6 homes, that is real. These people that you think that are admired by hundreds and millions are typically the ones that are most lost and dark inside, that mask it with the material items, that mask it with the pictures and the photos and the filters and the events and the attention on me, but in reality, they're dying inside.
Yeah, and to bring that, you know, back to content is when you're doing these things, when I know a lot of you in here are you know, religious, no matter what God you serve a God. And for me, you know, I've prayed my whole life, like, God, let me be your hands, let me help someone, because so many people have helped me. And don't be afraid to let that be a part of your content, to let that be a part of your message if it's a part of your spirit and who you are. Because just like Dan inspired me to do it bigger, even though I was out here giving, I didn't even think about doing it bigger and including other people. And so as we do put that out on our content, we just encourage others, and especially the younger generations as well, to start doing those things too. So I encourage all of you, if that's who you are and part of your story, like, don't be afraid to let people know that. You know, sometimes I say a prayer and say, God, please don't let me be a bitch today. As we're going through our days, we're so busy and we're so focused. Yeah, everybody in this room knows how I feel. Like, we've got stuff to get done. There's just, we're on point, but take that time to slow down and you know, be the hands to a blessing.
I'm laughing.
He didn't know what he got into with me, did he?
No, you know, I've been here for a couple days now, and I've been so lucky that Tia has taken me in. And Sunday morning we were doing a prayer, and she literally said, "God, don't make me a B word today." And I'm like looking up, and I'm like, and she's so in it. I'm like, she's dead serious. Like,
I knew what mood I
was
woke up
like,
in,
oh
okay.
my God, okay, we're doing this. So, yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Texted it.
Yeah. Making sure.
Another thing that, you know, I want to touch on before we bring up Chris, I think, be into the headspace of open ears and open heart. We live in a world, especially social media, it's my quote unquote world, that you see things in certain ways and you immediately give it an opinion. This is the room that you let that go, because then you're able to accept, listen, hear, and evolve. For me, growing up in Miami, at the time, I realized when I was growing up, I was like, my dad would always put me in the hood, and I was like, why am I the only one with like white, blue, and like long hair? And then I was like, I would want to shave my head because I wanted to be like the kids that were playing basketball. And then I had a transition where my dad put me in a public middle school, and these 12-year-old kids all had tattoos. And I was like, I wanted tattoos. And then I didn't know why that. And then I went into a high school that I was a minority. It was primarily Haitian in Little Haiti in Miami. And I was like, even then questioning, I was like, why am I here? What am I doing? And then when I made it to New York, it all made sense. it was then that I realized that my dad's biggest superpower is that he saw me not to be one type of person, but to love everyone. Black, blue, purple, green, white, it didn't matter. Which then became what I feel like is one of my superpowers. Like I have a genuine love for culture and people and language that then opens my perspective on filming content, which has then gotten me gigs with a variety of people based off that one thing that I relate them to.